Morning, and today is Friday, the 15th day of Menachem, and we say a good Yom Tov. This is one of the biggest holidays, although for some of you it's going to be a surprise that today is a holiday. But yes, the Mishnah says that there was no holidays like the 15th day of Av and Yom Kippur. We're not going to go into explanation right now. The point is, today is the full moon of the month of Av. Full moon represents the Jewish people in the fullest strength, and especially when it comes after the darkness of Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, this destruction. So the full moon that comes out reveals that the darkness really was not the purpose of the darkness, was the shining after. To turn the darkness into light, turn the negativity into positivity. So we are going to shine today, continue to bring the light of the Chassidus with the Tanya. And today we begin the 5th letter of Igeret Hakodesh, the part of the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe's letters. And this 5th letter, letter 5, is a very long one, and it gives a lot of insights in deep concepts in Kabbalah and Judaism. And as most of the letters we mentioned are letters that Alter Rebbe explains the concept of tzedakah from different perspectives, what the charity, being charitable, how profound and how special it is. So that is a very interesting way of the Alter Rebbe writing fundraising letters, telling you about giving tzedakah that Alter Rebbe was collecting to support the people in Israel. And those letters went into very deep understandings, and it opens up really lots of knowledge in many areas in understanding of God and so on. So today, and as I said, the letter 5 is a very long one. We're going to finish it next Wednesday. And we're going to talk a little bit about Gan Eden, what is the Garden of Eden, and about Hashem bringing out this world into being. And we're going to talk about a few of the Alter Rebbe begins the letter with a question, what it means that we are making God's name. So let's begin. Alter Rebbe begins with a story that it says that King David, that says, Vayas David Shem, David made a name. Let's see it inside and we'll explain what happens. So here we start. Says the Alter Rebbe, letter 5, Vayas David Shem, and David made a name. What does it mean? What does it mean David made a name? And the simple story in this comes, of course, from the Tanakh, from Samuel 2. It talks about the wars that King David fought. And he won those wars, and he made himself a name. What does it mean he made himself a name? So there is different interpretations, different commentators. Rashi says that he made himself a name because he was killing the enemy. He eliminated so many of the enemy, and yet he made sure that they would be buried. So he made a name for the Jewish people, that they're very kind, that even burying their enemies. Another interpretation was that David made himself a name, that he became very fearful, that meaning people were fearful of him by the fact that he was able to eliminate so many of the enemies. But the Zohar The Holy Zohar comes with a whole new understanding of this verse. And it says, King David made a name. It says, this refers to what it says later on, a few verses later. So it says, Pirush Bezoyar, HaKodesh, the Holy Zohar explains, Mishum Shenema, Vayehi David, Oisem Mishpat Utzedaka L'cholam Echulo. Zohar says that it relates the above phrase to the verse that it says a few phrases later. It says, and David executed justice and tzedakah with all his people. Says the Zohar that thereby, by doing justice, by doing tzedakah, by doing charitable acts, he created God's name. And that's what the Zohar says. Bocha Rabbi Shimon ve'Omar, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he cried, he wept, and he said, Man ovid shmo kadisha b'chol yemer, who makes the holy name every day, man the yoiv tzedakah l'miskane, he who gives charity unto the poor. So those are things we need to understand. That's how the Alter Rebbe begins this letter. About this quote from the Zohar, what it means that King David made a name and made God's name. And Rabbi Shimon became so emotional and he cried and he says, who can make, not only King David, every person can make God's name. How? By giving charity to the poor. So we need to understand, first of all, what does it mean to making God's name? What does that mean? And how is it done? By giving charity to the poor. So the Alter Rebbe begins with and explaining something seemingly not related, but the Alter Rebbe goes into this chapter and explaining many, many concepts, and ultimately we'll get to the understanding of this question. That will end the answer to this question we'll have in the end in next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. So he begins like this. This may be understood in the light of the comment of our sages. Maimer Azal, al pasuk ki beko Hashem tzur elamim. Sages of blessed memory, they comment on the verse. We say it every morning by davening. Bitchu by Hashem adayad ki beko Hashem tzur elamim. For by the divine name is composed, by the divine name that is composed of the letters Yud, Hey, God is the strength of the world. So the way that the verse says, Bitchu b'Hashem adayad, trust in God forever. Why? Ki bekor Hashem tzur elamim, because in God's name, it is the foundation, the strength of the world. So the fact that it doesn't say that God is the strength of the world, it says within God, bekor has a base. Bekor, be Yud K. In Yud K is the strength of the world. So the Gemara explains that this means something else. It means that with these two letters, the Yud and the Hey, God created the worlds. There is the Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh. The Olam Hazeh is this world, and there is the Olam Haba, the next world. So with those letters, the Yud and the Hey, those two worlds were created. So this is the Alter Rebbe. In order to understand this, the Alter Rebbe is going to give us a little bit of an understanding. What is it the world to come? And what is this world? Excuse me. And it gives us in very short understanding what is Gan Eden, Garden of Eden, heaven. It says, "Behei nivra olam hazeh, beyud nivra olam haba." The above quoted verse, the sages comment that this world was created by the letter Hey. And we're talking, of course, the letter Hey of the name of Hashem, the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. The tetragrammaton that is called. Those are the letters that form every world, in a sense. But specifically, it says the world to come, this world, the physical world, was created with the letter Hey, and the world to come was created with the letter Yud of the divine name, the Yud and Hey. So, in what respect is this world connected with the letter Hey, and the world to come with the letter Yud? So the Alter Rebbe answers this question by first explaining the concept of the world to come and Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. The Alter Rebbe begins, Pirush. What is the meaning? What is the meaning of Gan Eden? We have to start understanding what is Gan Eden. So when we say to a person, when we talk about Gan Eden, heaven, the world to come, what does it mean? That when you do good deeds in this world, you'll get rewarded in the world to come. What is the reward? The Rebbe goes on to explain that Gan Eden is basically, it's a result of what you're doing right here. There is the mitzvahs that you do create your Gan Eden. Gan Eden is not a place, a distant place. It's right here. And the Gan Eden, the heaven, is appreciating and understanding something which is in this world is concealed. In this world, you don't have a concept, an idea, what it means enjoying such a deep concept of enjoying godliness. You can have a little bit of taste, but the understanding in a revealed way is only when the neshama is in a higher place in Gan Eden. And the Gan Eden, again, is the result of what you're doing, of the actions of what you're doing, the mitzvahs that you do, and the way you do the mitzvahs. There is also the higher Gan Eden, and there's the lower Gan Eden. Higher Gan Eden is when you do a mitzvah with feelings, with emotions. That creates a higher understanding of godliness. The lower Gan Eden is when the mitzvah is done just by action. Continues the Alter Rebbe. And it says like this. Pirush. שהתיינוג שמסנגים נשומס הצדיקים ונהני מזיו השכינה. המאיר בגן עדן עליון ותחתון. This means that the delight which the souls of the righteous experience as they enjoy the splendor of the Shekhinah which radiates in the upper and lower Gan Eden, Gardens of Eden. What is it? That this consists of their pleasure in their apprehension and conception, for they conceive with the faculty of chachma. They know, so they know with the faculty of das, they understand with the faculty of bina. They enjoy some degree of apprehension, of delight and vitality, which infuses there. In a revealed manner from the blessed Ein Sof unto their soul and the spirit of understanding. So that each and every one can understand and attain some perception according to his level and his deeds. So his level and his deeds also refer to the higher Gan Eden and the lower Gan Eden, as mentioned before, The higher Gan Eden talks about the different levels of emotional feelings, understanding when you do the mitzvah, and deeds is when you do the mitzvah simply with deeds. So this is what Gan Eden is about. Gan Eden is about the neshama understanding the revelation, understanding a deeper concept, the grasping godliness, grasping what you do right here, the Torah that you study right here, the mitzvah that you do right here. That is why in the Zohar, the world to come is referred to as Bina, understanding. Because Bina is the understanding of the to grasp some kind of understanding of godliness. Where does it come from? This flow issues from the plane of supernal chachma. What does it mean, the supernal chachma? Which is the source of the conception and apprehension known as Bina. והוא קדמוס השכל קודם שבו לכלל גילוי השגה והבנה רק עדיין מבחינת הלם ואסתר. He says, Chachma is the primordial stage of the intellect before apprehension and understanding becomes manifest. But rather, Chachma is in the stage that it is still in the stage of obscurity and concealment. So what is he saying? So we have the concept of understanding something. When you understand something, it is, we mentioned many times, there is the process goes first, the Chachma, you have the spark, the flash that comes into the mind, and then Bina is the understanding, you develop it in your mind. The level of Chachma, understanding, is beyond logic. It is something that comes to you from above. And that what comes to you is really concealed. You can have a flash of understanding that comes from outside of you, and comes from where? From a very deep subconscious in you. And you can have a flash of understanding and it will be gone, and you wouldn't understand, you wouldn't know what is this all about. You need quiet time, and then you start developing something. So he says the Chachma is something which is from above, and it is beyond understanding, and it comes and it shines. Some parts of it, parts of that spark, of that flash, shines within the world of understanding, and then you get a little bit of understanding. And in order to get to that world of understanding, you need to be ready for that. You need to have some kind of a connection to it. I mean, if you're going to explain something to a person, let's say a blind person, explain to him the difference between the colors of red and blue. It's not in his world. If he never saw, he doesn't understand. There's no concept there. Rashab talks about the different pleasures of that a person has in this world. Some people enjoy food. Some people have pleasure in music. Some people have pleasure in wisdom, understanding gives them pleasure. So if someone, let's say, if God forbid somebody never was able to eat, and you'll explain to him how there is a pleasure of taking food and grinding in your mouth and swallowing, and you enjoy it so much. If that person, let's say, if was born with the tubes and is not able to eat, he will never understand what that pleasure is. So you have to enter that world. So the more we elevate ourselves, we're able to get understanding of what a more refined pleasure is. So Gan Eden is something which that pleasure, the ultimate pleasure of something which is beyond anything in this world, is revealed there. And this is how he is going to explain now that this is why the Gan Eden, the Olam Haba, the world to come, is created with the Yud. Because what does the Yud represent? The Yud is a dot. Just a dot is the Yud. This represents that essential dot which is beyond understanding and beyond anything. Any other letter of the alphabet has a certain shape. If you split the letter, any letter, you're not going to have that letter. If you take the hay, you split it in half, you're not going to have a hay there. The Yud is the dot. If you split the Yud, you still have a dot. You have two dots. No matter how many times you split it, you still have the dot. The dot represents the essence to which everything comes from. This is the Nekuda Be'ichala. This is the dot of the Chachma, which is beyond understanding, which is revealed. Some parts of it is revealed in a way of understanding and apprehension and understanding the greatness of God as much as possible, and the different levels of the neshamas. Continues the Alter Rebbe. So this is something that is concealed. Except from some minuscule measure, here and there, flows forth and issues from it to the faculty of Bina. Bina is the understanding. Making it possible for a soul to understand and apprehend a concept which is intrinsically concealed. In the Holy Zohar, therefore, Chachma is referred to as the dot in the palace. The palace represents the understanding, like a palace is wide and big and shines and open. The dot in the palace the dot is everywhere. The nekuda of the chachma that in the palace develops that chachma to be able to understand as much as possible. The chachma is the dot, the point of intellect that illumines the palace of Bina. Nevertheless, even when already housed in Bina, it still remains a seminal point of intellect that transcends the details that constitute the comprehension of Bina. This is why this is indicated with the letter Yud, as we said before. Indeed, this is the shape of the Yud of the four-letter name of God. The Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. The Yud represents the Chachma. Venikra Eden. And that Chachma is referred to as Eden. Eden. Talking about heaven is Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. The Eden is the Garden of Eden. Eden is something which is beyond understanding. As we say in the Torah, it says, "V'nohar yoytze me'Eden le'hashkes esagan." There is a river that flows out of Eden to water the garden. That represents the Eden represents the Chachma which is above revelation. The Chachma is also referred to as Eden, of which it is said, "No eye has beheld it." Meaning, it is a kind of illumination that transcends and defies comprehension. Now says the Alter Rebbe, "V'nikra Abba Yosad Brata." Okay. Here, the Alter Rebbe introduces another concept. It is called, moreover, the Chachma is referred to as the father who founded the daughter. So this we need to explain a little bit. What does it mean? The father founded the daughter. Yeah, we always know if the daughter is his daddy's girl. The daughter is connected with the father. So what is it? What are we talking about? So in the name of Hashem, the creation of the world, we have the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. The Yud represents the father. The first, the Hey represents the mother. The Vav represents the son, and the Hey represents the daughter. Which, by the way, it says, in halacha, when does a person fulfill his obligation of the Torah? It says, Peru revu, you shall multiply. So according to one opinion, the obligation is fulfilled when a person has a son and a daughter. So according to Kabbalah, this explains because when a father and mother have a son and a daughter, besides the fact that, we're talking about being able to multiply, the idea of having the father, mother, son, and daughter completes the picture, the name of Avaya, the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. So we have to understand this. The Alter Rebbe is going to say here now, this is a Kabbalistic concept, but he also explains it also in physical terms. So you have the father and the mother. The father represents the Chachma, wisdom, the revelation of the point, the revelation of the Dat. The mother represents the Bina, the combination of the Chachma and the Bina. The Bina is the understanding, the developing the Dat. You have also the Das, the connecting of the Chachma and the Bina. And that creates the Midot. The six, the Vav is number 6, which represents the Midos, the emotions that are created from the understanding. That represents the son that comes out as a result of the father and the mother. Then you have the last one, the Hey. The last Hey represents Malchus. As we say in Pesach Eliyahu, we say every Friday afternoon for Shabbos, we say Malchus Peh Torah Shebal Peh. Malchus is the Hey, the letter Hey represents the mouth. And that represents the daughter. The daughter represents the creation, bringing more creation to the world, and that is referred to as speech. Now, we can see a direct connection from Chachma, Bina, Das, and the emotions. There is a direct connection, and it is a chain-like creation. Because, as we said, you have the wisdom is developed into understanding, that leads to emotions, and so on. But when it comes to speech, the daughter, which is Malchus, kingdom, royalty, speech, this is something which has a connection with the father in a way that bypasses all the chain of descent. How so? The Alter Rebbe is going to explain a very interesting phenomenon when we're talking about speech. You have the different categories in the world. We say the inanimate objects, you have the vegetations, then you have the animal kingdom, then you have humans. What is the unique about humans? We call them medaber, the one who speaks. The speaking is something which is a phenomenon which is beyond understanding. And he'll explain why. So let's first read until we get to that point, and then we'll explain it further. Continues the Alter Rebbe. V'nikra Abba Yosad Pater. Chachma is referred to as the father who founded the daughter. Chachma is the father or source of the letter of speech, which are called the daughter, the level of Malchus, the royalty. As one might have expected the letters of speech to derive from the emotive faculties, the midas, or from bina, for surely a person articulates letters of speech when he seeks to express an emotion or to speak of an idea that he has comprehended. The Alter Rebbe, however, now goes on to explain that the letters of speech, in fact, derive from Chachma, which transcends comprehension. So, what does that mean? Says the Alter Rebbe Pirush, Kihine hisavus oisis adibu ayotzis me'ei moitzois ape einen davar muskum. This means the formation of the letters of speech, which proceeds from the 5 organs of articulation, is not an intellectual process. V'loi mudba b'teva moitzois alolu la'oitzi miftah ha'oisiyos al yedei hahevel v'akol ha'makabem al pi derech hateva v'loi al pi derech haseichel. It is also not inherent in the nature of these organs that they must pronounce the letters by means of the breath and the sound that strikes them, by either a natural faculty or by intellectual faculty. What is he saying? He's saying we have a very interesting phenomenon when it comes to speech. Sometimes you go to a concert and you see someone playing the piano. Anyone who has a feeling of understanding a little bit about music, you see the amazing thing that the woman or whatever, they play the piano, and the fingers are running like on the keyboard, like in the board. It's like running and creating such beautiful music. And it's like it seems like it's doing it automatically. It runs by itself. It's just playing, jumping from here to there, and it creates such a beautiful music. And you say to yourself, how does this happen? How does the person play so nicely? The answer is simple. Obviously, you need to have a talent to it. But in addition to the talent, you also have the person practices. He practices, starts with one key, another key, and automatically, and ultimately, he trains the finger muscles to move in the right direction, in the right way, and obviously with the ear, he hears the sounds and creates a beautiful melody. Now think about it. When it comes to speech, a child starts to talk. You have different tools of articulations of how to make a sound of a aleph, a bet. So there's, for example, there is the letters that comes from the lips. Bet, mem, vav, and as the Alter Rebbe will say. Now, how does the person take out these letters? How does he articulate those letters? Does he practice? Is it something natural that he creates, that it comes out? It's not. And it's not something that you have to think about and practice again to teach the child how to sound the letter mem and how to sound the letter bay. Make sure to move your lips this way. That's not how it works. God forbid if a person has speech problems, then you have a speech therapist and he uses a little bit of working on this area. But the way it works is that there is the subconscious the essence of the soul that wants to utter a certain letter, and automatically the lips move that way. And the different letters that comes from the tongue, it comes from the palate, comes from the teeth. It's all created in such a way, if you think about it, if to create music with a piano, you have to practice so many years to be able to create one letter. And yet, when it comes to speak, you're speaking so many thousands and thousands of words during the day. If it's something that you work, you should get so tired and your mind should hurt, your brain should hurt by thinking of how to utter those words. You can talk and talk and talk and talk so many letters, so many different things, because this is speech, is something that is rooted deeply beyond the logic, beyond, it comes from the very essence of the neshama, that the ratzon, the will of the person, of the soul, sends subconsciously the message to the person to be able to utter those words. This, he says, is Abba Yosad Bat, the Chachma, the wisdom, which we said is beyond wisdom, brings out, creates the daughter, the speech, which is the Malchus. So let's continue inside, the way the Alter Rebbe says it. It says, Kegoin, for example, Kegoin as Fasayim al derech mashal, with the lips, for example, She'oisios beis vav mem pei yotzas meyam, by means of which the letters beis vav mem and pei are uttered. So eina teva v'lo yaseichel noisen liyitzias mifta arba chelki shinui bitu oisios al pi shinui nuasas Fasayim. Neither nature nor the intellect compels the utterance of the four varying types of pronunciation by these letters in accordance with the variations in the movement of the lips. So with the lips, you close your lips, you can say the mem, the vav, the bet, and the pei. But it's not that you have to think about and you have an intellectual decision to move the lips in a certain way. They are which are moved by the same way, by the same breath and the same sound that strikes them equally. It says, on the contrary, the change in the movement of the lips depends on the difference in pronunciation of the letters the soul wishes to utter. The soul wishes to utter by means of the lips. When it desires to pronounce the letter bet, a vav, a mem, or pei. It's not in the other way around. It's not that the soul, that the will of intention of the soul is to make a change in the motions of the lips and then the letter come out. No. The soul wants to utter a letter and the lips automatically move. As they're moving now in the utterance of these four letters. And this is as evident the soul does not at all intend or know how to intend the change in the motions of the lips, which articulate those distinctions between the various letters. This is even more evident with the pronunciations of the word, of the vowels. He says when you say a vowel, you say kametz aleph o. O, you open the mouth. When you say pat, when you say o, you close the mouth. When you say a, patach, is you open the mouth, open the lips. So again, you want to say oh, the mouth becomes more closed. And that's also, by the way, the meaning of comets. Comets means the compressed, becomes compressed. Patach means opening. So that's what it says. When the soul wishes to utter the comets vowel, the lips spontaneously become compressed. And with the patach vowel, the lips open of their own accord. And not at all because of the will of the soul to compress or to open them. It's not that you want, I want now to open my mouth, so I'm going to say patach. You want to say the patach, automatically the mouth opens. And it says, there is no need to go any further into a matter which is simple, comprehensible, and intelligible to every intellectual person. Namely, that the pronunciation of the letters and vowels transcends the apprehended and comprehended intellect. So that's established. The letters, the uttering of the letters comes from beyond logic. But rather, it derives from the hidden intellect and the primordial stage of the intellect, which is the articulate soul. This is why an infant cannot speak, even though it understands everything. A child wants something, but he is not able to articulate, cannot say it. Why? Because that part of the wisdom, which is beyond the wisdom, is not developed yet by the child. So here we stop in this part of the letter. The Rebbe gives us, start to give in an understanding, and we have to understand, we have to explain why is it necessary? Why do we need to know all this? Why is it necessary for us to understand those concepts? Because when we will learn these ideas, we will understand and appreciate that in us, Hashem created and invested His essence. And therefore, the day-to-day action, what we do, has such a profound effect. Like it says, the Mezritcher Maggid says, Hashem Tzilcha, God is, the simple understanding of that verse is God is your shade. And the Mezritcher Maggid says, Hashem Tzilcha means God is your shadow. Whatever you do, there is a shadow that you create that acts correspondingly. And by understanding this example, as we shall go on in this letter, we will understand the depth of the action, what we do, the Gan Eden that we create, everything what we do. And therefore, it will have a whole different meaning when we wake up in the morning and when we do what we do. So this is the end of today's shir. Wishing you all a good Shabbos and a Shabbos Nachamu and a happy Chamisha Asa B'Av. B'Ezrat Hashem on Sunday.
Amen.